planning director for the City Avenue District, and I learned a lot last time. You'll have a chance to ask him questions. We asked that people keep their questions short, but we're anxious to hear more about what's going on. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Thank you all so much for braving the cold and the ice to be here with us tonight. I see some familiar faces. Quick show of hands. Who was here last year when I did the spiel? Only two of us. This is going to be a lot of new information. I love that. Like I said, my name is Alec Hersh. I'm the Economic Development Manager for City Ave District. People always ask me where the line went in City Line Avenue. I always tell them there's never been a line, and I even brought a prop to prove it. That's the original demarcation plan when the street was mapped out, and it clearly says City Avenue. So next time someone says City Line, you can call them out.
When years ago, they used to call it City Line, back in the day, in the 60s and the 70s, that's right.
People would call it that, but I don't think it had that on the street signs.
It's always been colloquial. But.
Okay, I must be.
I'll be talking for, goodness, how much time do I have again?
You have until 8:50.
Great. I have like 70 slides to go through. And I have 4 bottles of water, which should.
I thought you were about to say wine.
Get you.
Sorry.
That's for after. But I'll do my best to be brief and thorough, but if you have any questions, we'll also open the floor up for a Q&A afterwards, so I welcome your questions. So the first thing I want to start off with, especially for those who are unfamiliar, is who is City Ave District? These guys. This is the crew, this is the team that works so hard day in and day out to do the very difficult work that we do supporting the community. You see me down there. We also have a marketing manager, we have a public safety operations manager, finance administration, and then of course, I'm sure you all know our CSR, community service representative crew, our 10 guys on the bicycles and the green jackets that ride around, they're with us as well. We also have a crew of 2 streetscape associates that do street cleaning, trash collection, graffiti removal, that kind of stuff. But besides those smiling faces, City Ave District is also a business improvement district created in 1999 to help smoothen the boundaries between the city of Philadelphia and Lower Merion Township. The district focuses on clean, green, and safe programs along the corridor, as well as Bala Avenue, 54th Street, 63rd Street, and the surrounding areas. The next question after that is, what is a business improvement district? Now, a business improvement district is, in its most basic form, a hyper-localized form of government, which is created through an act of the municipality. Board seats for the district are confirmed by the City of Philadelphia City Council and Township Commissioners of Lower Merion Township. Services that we offer are limited to a specific district boundary, which I'll show you in a moment. And funding is derived from a local assessment tax based on a percentage of the value of each property within those boundaries. So in essence, in 1999, the 400 or so properties within the boundaries of City Ave District came together and agreed that there were additional services that needed to be rendered. So they passed this tax upon themselves to create us and allow us to do this work. And these primary focuses include brand promotion, clean, green, public safety, event programming, and business services. So this is a map of the district right here. As you can see, it goes all the way from the Schuylkill River down toward Wynwood Avenue on the western side. It includes all of St. Joe's campus, includes Philadelphia College of Osteopathic Medicine, includes all of the Bala Avenue commercial corridor, as well as various bits and pieces here and there. You're probably noticing that it's a very weird inorganic shape, and that's because we carve around residential properties, so I don't want anyone being concerned that their homes are being assessed for the district. It's just commercial properties. That's the primary reason. The other one being that when we were formed 25 years ago, properties had the ability to opt in or opt out of the district. So those that opted out got kind of carved around. And then kind of wrapping up my introduction, these are all the entities that we partner with on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. City government, state government, nonprofits, transportation agencies, tourism organizations, and of course, local civics, Neighborhood Club Bala Cynwyd, Bala Avenue of the Arts, the Marion Civic Association, Overbrook Farms Club, all these guys help us inform the work that we do. So I want to do a quick recap of stuff I talked about 1 year ago. I think it's important to hold us accountable to what we promised to do and then end up doing. So I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the stuff that we wanted to set out to do last January. One of the things I presented at that point was our commercial retail analysis, otherwise known as our retail strategy plan. This is a master plan created at the end of 2023, which we wanted to create to give ourselves a roadmap of how we can move forward, building up the economy of the City Ave corridor and Bala Ave corridor. Looking at what we have now, what we have room for, and where there's room to grow. So, and it, of course, broke the district down into 4 different pieces: City Avenue, St. Asaph Road, Presidential Boulevard, St. Joe's area, and then Bala Avenue, which we refer to as the Main Street node. For purposes of this presentation, I'm keeping it to stuff that's pertinent to Bala Cynwyd. So one of those things that we pulled out was the Main Street node, looking at things like current character, and I apologize, it's a little bit fuzzy up here. Understand that it is a sleepy, walkable main street with significant vacancy and opportunity for public realm programming. Looking at challenges such as existing retail tenant profile does not match the Main Street character of the node. Non-retail services being offered on Bala Avenue, things like that. And then forming hypotheses based on those challenges and that current character. Thinking about what other kinds of businesses we can add to the area: coffee shops, right? Activations for evening programming, places to get things you need on a daily basis where you can spend time. Something else that we debuted at the beginning of last year was our brand refresh. So on the left is the logo we've been using for 24 years. And then we decided enough was enough. We wanted to kind of go back to the drawing board, refresh, and use that aesthetic to influence how we impacted the district as a whole. So we kind of refreshed our look a little bit. Something else that we premiered last January was the City Avenue Landscape Master Plan. Some of you in the room might have been on the working group for that program. We had a fairly large working group of community members to help influence that. And the goal with that, much like the retail plan, was to create a roadmap for public space improvements, landscaping, of course, but streetscaping, furniture, event programming, lighting, locations where it might not be so safe to cross the street. Trying to find all these things that we can then work forward on. The plan in and of itself recommends about $8 million worth of improvements. Now that's a lot of money. So it's going to be incremental. It's going to take some time. Last year we made as much investment as we were able to, kind of chipping away at what we call low-hanging fruit of that plan for that first year. And I'm excited to share that stuff with you guys this evening. But some of the things in that roadmap included recognizing issues with road width. City Avenue is painfully wide in many places. Traffic light issues, bus stop locations, aging infrastructure, inconveniently placed curb cuts presenting issues for pedestrians, intersection widths, and then looking at opportunities for both physical and visual improvements. Looking at neighborhood opportunities, public art opportunities, open space opportunities, and branding opportunities. So that plan also broke things down into intersections, looking at what improvements can be made by the intersection. This is just a quick snippet, but the one on the top there is Bryn Mawr Avenue at City Ave, right down the road from here. Recommends things like adding new street trees, grass verges, raised planters, painted crosswalks, things like that. And then below that is Bala Avenue at City Avenue. And again, many of the same things: new street trees, working on landscape buffers, grass verges, and raised planters on curb cuts. So, having all that been said, we'll jump into what we were able to accomplish in the last year, which I think is quite a lot.
Hey, Alex,
Sorry.
would you go back to the first slide? Yes, so Bala Ave, can you talk a little bit about that? What you plan to do?
Sure. So that is, like I said, the intersection of Bala and City, which is a painfully dangerous intersection for pedestrians and cars, as I'm sure everyone in this room can attest to. On the north side, there's the Citizens Bank and the One Bala Avenue office building. On the south side, it more or less T-bones. There's that kind of, off-centered split with 50th Street on the Philadelphia side. And of course, right there is the Bala Inn and a couple of vacant spaces and then the Jiffy Lube. I think the most concerning part of that spot is where the bus stop is located. And there's a curb cut where pedestrians are meant to be able to access the crosswalk, but cars leaving Jiffy Lube think that it's a driveway. And we've made many efforts to appeal to the owner of the Jiffy Lube, explaining the case. He has resisted any form of change. We've offered to pay to put bollards in, raise planters in. They don't want it. So we're looking at next steps, taking it to the city and seeing what they're able to help us do there. I don't have a car. I'm obligated to walk City Avenue every day. I say obligated, but it is a pleasure getting to see everything on the avenue. But that is, I would say, one of the top 2 to 3 most dangerous places to be a pedestrian. Cars come from every direction. It's awful. So what I'd like to do there, at the very least, is put a 4-foot tall raised planter with landscaping inside of it. Something else we're looking at doing district-wide, not just at the intersection, is painting the crosswalks. We have pages and pages of research that reflects the fact that muraled crosswalks makes it much safer for both cars and pedestrians. People think that it's the opposite. It is in fact much safer because it obliges cars to stop or at least slow down and look at what the heck is in the road. So it does make it a lot safer. PennDOT, the city of Philadelphia, tends to disagree with us on that research, as they tend to do on most things. So that is an ongoing project, but we are optimistic that we'll get that done the next year or 2. Same with bus pull-offs, that's an opportunity for murals as well. And then both the north side and the south side, we want to do some new street trees as well. We somewhat affectionately call the stretch between Bala Avenue and I guess Maple as no man's land, because it is just concrete as far as the eye can see, especially in the Philadelphia side. Right, Lower Merion has a little bit more green space. That new auto zone, the new enterprise, followed the new townships regulations for zoning. So they have wider sidewalks, they have benches, they have trees, which we love. Philadelphia has none of those things. So we're looking at raising funds to do some concrete removal. That also requires getting the property owners on board for a little bit of concrete removal. They're very wide sidewalks, they're between 8 and 12 feet. So there is space to remove 3 to 4 feet if we wish, and put in a grass verge or put in street trees or things like that. So that is the goal as well. That's all prescribed in the plan.
Yeah, like what city is your model for mural blocks?
We used Atlanta. Atlanta did quite a bit. New York has done a lot. LA has done quite a lot, and Atlanta and LA, of course, are infamous for their traffic issues. So if it works for them, I think it can work for us as well. So jumping into this year, something we've been working on a lot in the last 12 months is data collection. I think that's really important, especially for us as an improvement district, is to be stewards of this crucial data. So part of that is investing in data collection programs and software. One of those is Placer AI. Placer AI is a traffic counting software that uses cell phone data and then it generalizes to presume traffic in any given space. So we've been using that to look at trends over the last 3 years of workers, visitors, and residents in the area. And the good news is on all 3 counts between 2022 and 2024, there has been a nice increase, especially in residents. I'm sure you've seen a lot of that in the new apartments that have been opening up, the Grant, the Kelly, things like that, the Delwyn. Employees has leveled off a little bit for obvious reasons. COVID kind of really hurt our office profile. We are working on climbing back out of that. We expect to see a lot more of that this year. More offices are requiring in-office work, less hybrid, less remote. So we definitely expect to see a nice uptick in that this year. And of course, with that, does see more traffic, but it also means more dollars spent in our local businesses, in our stores, in our restaurants, and things like that. So pros and cons to everything, but we're looking forward to that return to office. Total visitors has also been on a nice increase since 22. In 2024, we had just short of 1.8 million visitors come through the district. And again, that's not employees, that's not residents, that's just people coming to City Avenue to shop, to dine. And I will mention that the way Placer AI works is it only collects data if you are in a place for more than, I think, 15 minutes. So these aren't just people passing through, these people are actually stopping, which is fantastic. Back at the table over there, I have a nice stack of our 2024 end of year recap by the numbers. I brought plenty, so I encourage you guys to grab one, put it in your fridge, look at it every day. But it has some really interesting data points that I think you'll find quite compelling. That I'll get into later in the presentation, so I won't get into too many of the weeds reading it right now. But I mentioned our public and safety operations. Like I said, one of our biggest priorities at City Ave District is clean, green, and safe. I'm sure many of you guys remember City Avenue the way it was before we came along over the last 25 years. Generally not considered to be a very hospitable place, and I say it with love. My job is to love City Avenue, and I do, but I'm also not naive, you know. Traffic is a problem, litter is a problem, crime can be a problem. So that's why we're around, that's why we're working so diligently to try and address these issues as best we can. It's not gonna happen overnight, we've been around for, like I said, 25 years, and there's still quite a ways to go. But I think that, and I hope that you'll see that the work we've been doing has at least been mitigating some of those issues. This is our crew right here. These are our CSRs, our streetscape crew. We put them in all new uniforms to coincide with our brand refresh this year. They pop really well. They look great. Their bikes, they use all electric bicycles to help them get around. Those were all grant funded last year, 2023, I should say. Those were all grant funded from the state of Pennsylvania to buy electric bicycles, let them get around a lot easier. And we owe a great debt to them. Speaking of which, we also have a fleet. These were also all grant funded from the state of Pennsylvania in the last 2 years. We have 2 pickup trucks for our cleaning and greening efforts, and then the patrol vehicle for our CSRs on days like today when it's very, very cold, or days when it's raining, help them get around the district. Now, speaking of data and public safety, we're always collecting the data of the stuff that the CSRs do while they're out. They collect the data through an app on their phones. It goes right to us, and we can aggregate that data and look at it and compare it to previous years. As you can see, the biggest chunk of that pie is what we call public interactions, right? That's just engaging with public. That's giving directions. That's helping people find their car, right? That's going to a business and talking with the cashier, with the manager for a little while. So that's the biggest chunk of that pie. After that, it's collecting trash, it's picking up signs, it's cleaning graffiti, it's we spend a lot of time collecting shopping carts. You would be amazed where Target shopping carts wind up. All the more reason to have those pickup trucks. A smaller part of that is traffic accidents. I think that's 67 in the last year. That varies between major and very, very minor, but either way, they're there. And this is important to touch on for a moment because we are, of course, on the very outskirts of the city of Philadelphia. And unfortunately, that means that we are neither the priority nor very convenient for Philadelphia police to reach. So if there is a car accident on City Avenue, or a break into a car on City Avenue or something like that, PPD's response time is about an hour. Our response time is about 5 minutes. So we're the first ones on site, making sure everyone's okay, calling our earth ambulance, collecting that information, picking up, piece of car on the road, things like that. So we do work very diligently on that kind of stuff. Again, complaints to property owners, we respond to quite a bit of that, found property, hazards and repairs, communicating with panhandlers, solicitors, on-house people. And then a very, I would say, small piece of that pie is police, fire, EMS engagement. So again, people think that City Avenue is a hotbed of crime. It would be naive to say there isn't, but I think the numbers reflect the fact that it's not nearly as high as people tend to believe that it is. And breaking that down a little bit further, these are annual crime statistics. We're more or less breaking even in 2023, which is to be expected given the return to office, the increased visitation, the increased residents, all that stuff. If the total population every day of City Avenue is increased by 20%, it stands to reason that it hasn't gone down tremendously, but it's nice to see that it's more or less equal, only a change of 8% over 2023. But you can see the numbers there for yourselves. 15 aggravated assaults, 11 burglaries, 8 cases of robbery, 18 cases of vehicle theft. Not tremendous numbers when compared to other communities in the area. So we're pleased to see that, and we think that in 2025, as return to office it increases and people get used to back on City Avenue, and we also increase our presence We're looking to grow our team this year from 10 to about 12 or 13 CSRs. We can keep those numbers on the downward trend.
Alex, what your staff, like if they see something going on, like. That they're obviously not police, but like,
Right.
what can they do? Like, or if there's an accident, they
Yeah.
go up first, like what's their?
It is a very fair question. We obviously don't have arresting power. But in the case of a medical emergency, like I said, we're the first ones on site. The guys are trained in CPR. They're trained in first aid, so they can administer those things. And like I said, call an Arbor ambulance and they wait with the people until they arrive. For crime incidences of car burglary, theft, retail theft, things like that. Again, they don't have arresting power. They can't chase people down. We ask them to not chase people down. People have tried. We ask them not to. But they are getting the first ones on site, making sure that the employees are all right, waiting for the police, giving the police their report of what happened, and working basically hand in hand. But I think what they do, what the biggest piece of what they do is a visual deterrent, right? I mean, when it comes down to it, that's most of what security is, right? Is a visual deterrent. Is if you have these 10, 11, 12, 13 people on bicycles looking official, you know, in their uniforms, right in the area, it does tend to deter things from happening. Of course.
Alice, as a corollary to that, what are their hours of and days of operation?
So Monday through Friday, they are, I believe they are 8 AM to 8 PM on staggered shifts. We have not been able to have the staff to run weekends yet, but we're hoping to change that this year. That's when, you know, quite a bit of stuff happens, so we'd kind of like to extend that, but that's actually new for last year, is going that late. We used to go until I think 5 or 6, and we noticed an uptick in evening crime, so we kept the guys out later, and that evening crime has gone down. So looking again at total crime from 2015, I think this is a really interesting stat. Obviously ignoring the dip in 2020, 2021, you know, that's of course an outlier. We've still come down quite a bit from where we were in 2015, so I find that number very reassuring. You know, total crimes and other thefts are both down from where they were, so we hope to see this trend continuing over time.
Alec, can I, yes, have you plotted out like where the car crashes have happened?
We have.
Where the crimes have occurred, like different type?
You'll have to forgive me that I don't have them on here or on my person, but
Reach out.
yes, I do have those, yep. That's actually a great point, though. I mentioned our efforts collecting data. As part of that is also mapping the data, so we have a database of district maps of retail theft, of vehicular accidents, and you can kind of see the pressure points of where these are happening, so I think that's very interesting to look at. But some collective data, which I really like, is we collected almost 1,400 bags of trash last year off the street of City Avenue. We returned 70 shopping carts to the rightful owners and cleaned almost 900 total locations. Just a quick sample of, a quick sample of some of the work that we've done, from graffiti removal on road signs, on walls. Some cases we're able to clean it, some cases we have to go out and buy paint and we just paint it over, things like that. But that's a service that we offer, of course, free of charge as part of our services. Now, why everyone came here tonight. We at City Ave, and me especially, I will admit, have been investing a great deal of time and a great deal of resources into Bala Village. We don't go throughout all of Bala Cynwyd. Technically, this library is not our district. We just have the Bala Avenue commercial corridor. But I like to think that rising tides raise all ships. So what we can do on Bala Avenue will hopefully spread to Montgomery Avenue and elsewhere. So it's been a lot of fun over the last year working with members of the community, civic leaders, volunteers, doing the best we can with what we have to help Bala. So one of those things is the Bala Ave Public Art Plan. I'm not sure how many of you guys were at our launch event we had for this, but these are all photos courtesy of Mr. Manos over there. Thank you. It was a great event we had at the Kelly Apartments back in December to launch this plan. And this plan spent the better part of, I'd say, 9 or 10 months in development. We hired, along with the help of Lower Merion Township, a public art planner. Her name is Julia Guerrero. Right now, she's working on the Avenue of the Arts. I think that's what they're calling it, the Avenue of the Arts. No. The Avenue of the Arts in Center City, Philadelphia. You know, where the Kimmel Center, and the but I believe they're calling it the Avenue of the Arts or something to that effect. They commissioned a whole art plan as well, so we got the person who's doing that to come do ours, so I think we were in pretty good hands. And we did community engagement surveys, we did public interviews, we worked with local officials to try to determine what exactly this plan can look like, and let's see. So this is a lot of writing that I'll just kind of summarize. Why do this? Why make a public art plan? Clearly, Bala Avenue needs a lot of help, and a mural is not gonna help necessarily. And the short answer is, it can, at least a little bit, right? I mentioned low-hanging fruit earlier, it's gonna be incremental. The work that has to be done on Bala Avenue is gonna take a lot of time and a lot of effort, a lot of resources. And every little big piece that we do helps, especially when it comes to creating a brand and identity for Bala Village. And something that can be identifiable with it. So if that is a mural that people know about, they think that Bala Avenue is the place with the nice mural, that's great, that's a step in the right direction. So this plan, the goal was to create a vision for a more creative commercial corridor with arts-based activation methods, with public art, branding, cultural programs, trying to draw visitors and bring neighbors together while creating a more attractive street. These projects recommended in the plan will enhance and unify the streetscape and be a catalyst to drive attention to Bala and define it in a new light. I think, as many of us can attest, especially those that have lived here for a long time, Bala's had a bit of a roller coaster, it's had its ups, had its downs. I think, what we realize in doing this plan is that as of right now, it's kind of floating adrift. It kind of lacks an identity. It lacks, a reason to go. It lacks something that's identifiable. So we want to do this to create a base, to create a foundation of something that could become something in the future. So the public art plan offers a roadmap and toolkit to grow Bala Avenue into a visually unified, creative corridor destination with an artistic sense of place. The goals include 1, beautifying the corridor, 2, creating community spaces that bring neighbors together in creative experiences, 3, develop the connection between Bala Avenue and the Cynwyd Heritage Trail through art installations, and attract people to the area to see the art. So just a quick snippet of this, and by the way, this can be viewed on our website, as can all of our plans. Right at the top of cityave.org is a page for reports and publications that you can view the whole thing. It's a wonderful plan. But we conducted this survey, which we issued to the public, and we got a really nice response on it. Most people wanted something called functional streetscape art. That's something you can engage with. That's a sculpture, that's street furniture that's appealing, as well as murals, light-based art, and trail amenities. So again, that's part of that connection between the Cynwyd Trail and Bala Avenue, excuse me. Most people we found are coming to Bala Avenue for the Cynwyd Trail, which makes sense. Makes less sense to recognize there's no actual wayfinding signage on Bala that directs people toward the trail. If you're standing in front of Slices and Rolls, you'd have no idea there's a great amenity 50 yards away. So that's what we want to work on, things like that. And those letters are far too small to read. But it was all part of the survey and information gathering process. Again, this is tremendously small and I apologize. It looked a lot better on my computer. But we looked at the avenue as if it were broken out into different segments, from City down to Union, from Union down to the beginning of the corridor, from the beginning corridor, which is like where the 155 Salon is, down to Highland, from Highland down to Montgomery, including BMW, and breaking those each down and recognizing their strengths and their weaknesses and where there are opportunities for growth. So the plan concludes with next steps and how we can implement this kind of a plan. The first thing, of course, is that it begins with a demonstration of public art projects at a high-profile location on Bala Avenue. So this has actually already been done. How many of you guys were at the Bala Avenue Art Walk last year? Yeah, good? Love it, great. We're gonna keep doing it. It's gonna be bigger and better every year. Last year, I think we had 30 vendors. We're hoping for 50 this year. Last year, we had between 1,800 and 2,200 people attend the event. We're shooting for 3,000 to 4,000 this year. So that is a great high-profile arts-based program to help kick off this kind of a plan. 2 is consider a micro grant program. So looking at raising funds that can be dispersed to artists to help benefit the community and really make sure that Bala is known as an arts destination where arts are fostered. 3 is developing a Friends of group to help raise some funds and get people engaged. And then 4 is engage business and property owners. That's of the utmost importance to have a cohesive business community. One of the other recommendations of this plan surrounded brand identity. So to that end, we went out and we hired a graphic design firm called Hague Design based in Philadelphia. We worked with a working group composed of myself, township staff, Ballad of the Arts staff, to create something that can be easily identifiable, recognizable, and that community members can grab onto as part of Bala Avenue. So that is the Bala Ave logo, which I think looks dynamite. It pops. Obviously it makes a big V, but each individual segment of it also represents different parts of the community, from a leaf to the Montgomery Avenue Bridge, and it's actually also a bird's eye view of the street grid of Bala Avenue, which I think is very creative. We printed these on banners that I hope you've seen by now that go all the way down Bala Avenue. And it looks great. When you guys came in on that table back there, I have pens, magnets, by those flyers, so feel free to grab some on your way out. We're trying to spread this to as many parts of the community as we can.
Okay, can you explain the street grid for a second?
Yes. My understanding is this line is kind of the core of Bala Avenue. This is where it splits off north of Montgomery, where it kind of forks by the train station. Beyond that, I think the rest are just the blocks of the neighborhood. But I know the colors were also meant to represent different parts. I think the yellow comes from the theater, as does the orange. The blue comes from Bala Cynwyd Shopping Center, the green from the foliage. And again, this all came from prolonged conversations that we all had to try and reach something that not only looked nice, but also collected pieces from different parts of the community. Taking artistic liberties in places, of course. A question I get asked all the time is what's happening in the Bala hole. This is the 200 block of Bala Avenue. Something, hopefully soon. I jest, but the property has been purchased by a new development firm. It is the same developers that did Cricket Flats in Ardmore. If you guys are familiar, it's a beautiful, beautiful mixed-use building with a rooftop garden. The same project, they actually say that the building they're going to build on Bala is going to be nicer than Cricket Flats, which is something to look forward to for sure. They are currently working with the township to finalize the designs, make sure it's in line with the zoning, but also has outdoor space for outdoor dining, for the restaurants that we're going to bring into the ground level of that building. It's going to house about 85 units. It's going to have the below ground parking deck, and it's about a $34 million project.
Where, can I ask, where is that?
This particular building is on Cricket, just south of Lancaster Avenue in Ardmore.
Oh, okay, so that's a sample. Okay.
Yes, this is Cricket Flats. This is just to give you an idea of what the new buildings will look like, because they'll be almost identical aesthetically. But the new building will be, like I said, on that 200 block of Bala Avenue, where the BMW lot used to be in the pink house, where that one was. No firm answer on timeline for that. They're planning to break ground in March. I know there was some holdup with sewer lines and things like that, so they're working on getting that fixed as we speak. And once that's done, they'll start going up.
Is it gonna be rental units?
It will be.
And are they gonna be small or they're gonna be
They will
like
not be.
family size?
It will be 2 to 3 bedrooms. They'll probably have a couple 1 bedrooms as well, but they will not be small. They'll be high end, to be sure. But that does touch upon the question of apartments, which I will touch upon at the very end. So hold that thought.
While the film has.
Yeah.
That building is on the corner of that lot.
Yes, the stone one.
Yeah,
Mhm.
is that gonna stay?
That building is staying. It's actually gonna be incorporated into the new building. Because they find, and I agree, that it's such a beautiful and historically significant building. It may be protected under the historic, it is as a historic building. The building itself is gonna stay as a shell, but it will be in effect gutted and incorporated into the overall design of the apartment building. Accessed from the inside, if that makes sense. So
Yeah.
they'll basically carve doorways.
Yeah.
On what are now the external walls. Yeah, it'll be really nice.
Maybe this is not a question for here, but I was curious about the parking. Do you know how many parking spots would it really accommodate everybody in the building? Cause I know parking could be an issue.
That is their plan, to accommodate all the units in the building, but, come find me afterward, we'll talk more about
Okay.
that. But yes, their plan, like I said, is to go below ground with a comprehensive park garage that will suit the needs of all the residents, to be sure. We also, though on the topic of parking, I will just say, conducted a parking study last year. You'll forgive me, I don't have the number off the top of my head, but we determined that there's, contrary to I think what most people believe, a tremendous amount of parking in the area, either on the street or in lots. The Bala Gym has a lot of parking, of course. There are 40+ spaces in the BMW lot. So I think, you know, there's parking where people might not expect, right? And of course, it's public all the way up Highland and Union and Brigmore Avenue and things like that. We also expanded the Bala Cynwyd Farmers Market, which was a big point of pride for us last year. We received a grant from the Pennsylvania Council on the Arts to invest in community programming. So to that end, we took our somewhat sleepy little farmers market from the parking lot of the Carbarth building, the GSB building, which was based on community input, very hot, very sunny, very sweaty, not very attractive to look at, and gave nothing to stay and remain. One of the things that we're trying to do, one of the things that was recommended in the landscape master plan is to create more public spaces in the area where you can sit and gather with friends and family and hang out. And the Carbarth parking lot wasn't cutting it. So we moved the farmers market just across the street, really, to the parking lot of One Bala Plaza, where we created what we called a little pocket park. We painted an asphalt mural. We used raised planters in which we planted a free herb garden, you can snip and take, a free little library, bistro seating, solar powered string lighting, Adirondack chairs, things like that. Things which actually stay up not quite year round. They went down in December, they'll go back up in March, so almost year round. And also all those trees create a nice bit of shade. So if you haven't been to the market yet, I encourage you to come every week. We have a really nice spread of 10 to 15 vendors. We're trying to grow that next year. And it's a really nice place to come after work or come, you know, hang out for a little bit. We have lawn games, we have cornhole, we have on occasion a mobile beer garden that shows up. It's been a really nice asset to have. And that investment for the Pennsylvania Council on the Arts really paid off. The 2023 market had in total about 7,000 total attendees with an average return rate of 1.5, which means people weren't really coming back that much. They were coming once, being like, it's not for me, I'll get my vegetables at Acme, and not coming back. And when they would come, they wouldn't stay for all that long, 42 minutes on average, which I think does skew a bit high. But in the 2024 market, we saw that number increase to 9,000 total attendees. Average attendees returned 4 times, which is incredible. That fourfold return rate is really what we want to see. We want to get that up to 7, 8, 9 this year. And then attendees stayed for just shy of an hour. So creating that public space was in fact paying off, giving people a place to stay and recreate, which has been really, really lovely. Just some quick photos from our events. A lot of these I think are also courtesy of Mr. Manos. Thank you, sir. Credit where credit is due. The Bala Avenue Art Walk, like I said, was back in September, had around 2,000 guests appear and shop at the 30+ vendors, do some interactive art programming. It was a really wonderful event. People had a really nice time, I think. And we had 5 food trucks. And again, this is all going to grow and expand for next year. We also did a movie night. I'm not sure if any of you guys were in attendance at that. That was at, I forget what the name of the park is, but it's that park just north of the Kingwood Station, across the trailhead. We rented a big blow-up screen. We showed a movie. We had about 60 people show up, mostly kids. It was back to school themed.
Was it advertised?
It was through the neighborhood club and through the Bala Avenue Arts and other venues. Though perhaps I should advertise the library next time.
And that's what I'm thinking. We didn't have this hanging up on our bulletin board.
It was a nice night. It wasn't too hot.
You know what night of the week it was? Was it a Friday?
It was a Thursday. It was right after the farmers market.
I wish I knew.
And it was the last free Thursday before school started. Unfortunately, these events are very expensive, so we'd like to do them again in the coming year as like a series, but of course we have to try and fundraise for that too. So
Does
TBD.
the park need to be rented when they have an event? How does that work?
I'm sure it did. I can't remember if I did or not, I'm sure I would have. But yes, as a not quite a nonprofit, but as a non-taxing organization, the township gives us space for free, so that isn't the expense. The expense is the rental of the screen, the projector, the
Right.
speakers and all that kind of stuff, so. If we could buy our own, that'd be great, then we could do it every week if we wanted. This is again our winter open house at the Kelly, which was a nice turnout. I'll get into some retail and some streetscape updates. I'll try and be brief. I'm somehow approaching an hour. My goodness gracious. You must be sick of me by now.
You're doing great.
Thank you. As I mentioned, our retail strategy plan, this was huge for us. Like I said, this is a master roadmap that will dictate how we build the community in the future, what kind of businesses we attract, what kind of businesses we don't necessarily want to be attracting, and what we have room and where we have room to grow, right? So what we realized is learning that the greatest opportunities were growth in food and beverage with capacity for an estimated 15,000 square feet of additional food and beverage space. Entertainment and fitness with capacity for about 9,000 extra square feet of space. And services, that's gas stations, hair salons, things like that, with capacity for an addition of 8,200 square feet of space. And in the last year alone, we chipped into that quite a bit, gaining 4,500 new square feet of food and beverage, 2,500 square feet of entertainment and fitness, and 10,500 square feet of new service. So that's tremendous growth just for the first year of that plan being implemented. So we're very, very pleased by that. Reassured, and people usually ask me when I say things like this, how do we go about getting new businesses? That's usually a question people have. It's not the simplest thing in the world. People always say, well, just get a Shake Shack. I would love to get a Shake Shack. I'd love to get a Whole Foods, an XYZ, a Trader Joe's. That's the big one I always hear is Trader Joe's. And the answer I always give, unfortunately, is that if we were going to have a Trader Joe's, we would already have a Trader Joe's, unfortunately. They have scouts that, whose whole job is to go out and investigate communities and see if there's space in the marketplace for what they have. And for whatever the reason, they determined that we are not a viable candidate. However, we do like to stay on our toes and be vigilant about attracting new mom and pop businesses, right? So I'm always on the phone with incubators, the Temple University Small Business Development Center, the wider University Small Business Development Center, working with startups, with grassroots companies, with people that are making soap out of their garage that might want to scale up and have their own brick and mortar. So we're working on things like that. We just were able to get a very, very good West African restaurant out of Fairmount to open a second location on City Avenue at 173 City Avenue by St. Joe's. It's called Suya Suya. If you've not been yet, it's delicious. I recommend you go. We're very, very thrilled to have him come. Did I see a hand?
Yes, you did. I'm just curious, the added footage in areas that you have for the entertainment and fitness, that's all on city line. This is not relevant to Bala.
It is. This includes everything.
So where would you have that additional space for food and beverage?
For food and beverage. Well, so it includes the entire district, which is both city and Bala. It's not broken down by node per se. I can probably find those numbers for you after some number crunching.
Entertainment and fitness, like on Bala Avenue, anything that you can tell me offhand?
You mean in terms of where there is space or anything that's coming?
Either one. Oh, yeah.
Right. So I think the new building that's going up in the 200 block, the developers have been speaking with Bala Avenue of the Arts and other local leaders in accordance with the Bala Ave art plan to invest in some kind of arts-based location, whether that looks like a creative space, an art gallery, a performance space, I'm not sure. But that is tentatively something that they're planning on putting into one of their retail spaces on the ground floor. That's one example.
This is core,
Yes,
across from BMW.
correct. Yeah. So looking at that, there are, I think, 3 or 4 new retail spaces that have opened up in, it's called the Shirley, that building that is on the corner of Montgomery and Bala. Those have brand new owners that are very, very quality owners. They're actually close friends with the core group, and they have a very similar vision, investing in arts groups, investing in coffee shops and bars, not bars, but evening dining and places you can get a beer and a dinner or something like that. So that's kind of all.
Vacancies lower, there's some vacancies lower down on Bala Avenue.
And right, yep, I was gonna get there. Vacancies further down, we have the two spaces that flank the theater, which are owned by the same person that owns the theater.
So to me, that's the big elephant in the room, what's going on.
The theater.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm so
if
tired of
you-
everyone just talking around.
The owners, the
And, you know,
elephants.
if you don't mind, I actually do have that at the end, so I'm gonna circle back to that. But I promise I will touch on it. I do know it's the elephant in the room. I didn't plan to skip over it. But yes, so given the plan, given everything, there are things in the works, there are ideas, there are opportunities we see to invest in entertainment on Bala Avenue, invest in the arts, invest in dining. And I think once that new building is done and once the new owners of the Shirley get their feet under them, we're gonna start seeing some nice changes coming quite soon.
So I have a quick development 101 question.
Yeah.
You say, you know, sure, I'd love to have a Shake Shack and all that good stuff. What the concept of an anchor store or that one big store that could just help the rest of it grow, is that like, I would think that would be a good place, dirt cheap.
You mean Bala Avenue?
Yeah, if you're the beginning store, is that not a selling point?
It absolutely is. The thing holding Bala Ave back right now from a really high quality anchor is the fact that the real estate is simply not to the caliber that those places tend to look for, right? So real estate is broken down into classes, class A, B, C, and so on. And if we were gonna get something like a Shake Shack as an example, or a, you know, something else higher end dining, they generally want class A space, right? They don't wanna move into a space where there's exposed ductwork, where it needs a whole new everything, where they have to put in all new ventilation, things like that. So the reason why I say things like that will have to wait until the new building is done is because it will be built as class A. It will be built to attract those kinds of people. You know, the old State Farm on Bala Avenue, much as I wish some, you know, a Shake Shack or something like that would move into there, they're simply not going to. It's just not to the standard that they'd like it to be. If that makes sense.
Sure. So when I talk about the big corporations that have big money, they don't look at renovating or they don't look at building. Literally building. They,
From the ground up.
yes.
They do and they can. And I think it's an interesting, much larger conversation. But I think part of the reason also is that we need to prove to them that it's a viable marketplace. Right? Right now, the foot traffic on Bala is negligible, right? So why would a restaurant come in knowing that? So I think that's all the more reason to invest in what we're loosely calling low-hanging fruit, which is, you know, mom and pop startups, which is, you know, arts events and programming, things like that, to try and drum up foot traffic in the area and make it more appealing so that down the road it can be a destination.
I'm thinking less restaurant, more of like, say you did have a mini Trader Joe's, just like there's a Target Express, a
Right.
smaller Target. Or I saw that an Erewhon opened up in Philly,
A what?
an Erewhon, that fancy Los Angeles grocery store. It's like a
Right.
higher end than Whole
Like
Foods.
an ice cream shop would be good.
But so,
We
right,
were so close to having one. We almost had
I
one.
know.
I was gonna say, but none of these people see, like, you had a chart there, the residents have doubled, right, in 2 years. More people are coming back to work, like, that doesn't generate traction.
You're probably looking at like a neighborhood in Pittsburgh, I forget the name of it, it's on sort of a slope, the Western River. It's an industrial area, but it's very arts driven, it's got like a bowling alley and a movie theater and a record shop and a barbecue place and a Japanese, I mean, the restaurants pop up at night where all the college kids like come there in droves.
Right.
And then during the day, it's got, you know, it's like on Saturday, it was packed, you know, the homemade donut place
Yeah.
that costs $12 for 3 donuts and, you know, the used funky, furniture places and,
Yeah.
you know, all the sort of artistic
Right.
become a hub, right? That's what you're looking for.
We are 100%. And to your point as well, we are actively searching for that $1 fall. If we can get that independent donut shop, that really high quality vegan donut shop, if we can get
Barbecue.
Dottie's Donuts to move in or barbecue, right? I before I came here, I'm from around here, but before I came back here, I worked for a bid in South Carolina, in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, which is economically depressed whenever it's not summertime, right? They have a downtown that's abandoned because no one goes downtown, everyone goes to the boardwalk. And we were able to bring in a barbecue place.
Yeah.
That was the anchor and revitalized the entire block. I mean, it really was quite immediate, within 6 months, it was like day and night, so I hear you. And I think it'll come.
Those beer gardens, I mean, like even in
Yeah.
San Francisco and Seattle and, you go to these places and they just like pop up.
Right, well, what would have been great if we had a different ownership group prior to Core buying the 200 block. Would have been making that into a pop-up beer garden. I mean, that would have been super easy. You just bring in a couple trailers and it's low maintenance. That was 5 years of missed opportunity, but you know, what are you gonna do?
So Alex, you were talking about Class A retailing. The Kelly Apartments and the place across the street, I forget.
Grant,
They have had their ground property for lease.
Right.
Since they opened their doors. I assume that is Class A property.
it is,
So why are they being challenged and not being able to lease that out to a viable?
it's a great question. The short answer is because it's off the commercial corridor. If that building was on Bala, I think it would have been filled within 6 months. But I think because it is, obviously, it's within walking
That
distance,
simple half block?
you'd be surprised. It's all psychological, right? It's just set too far back, and that means the only people that would be going there regularly would be the residents of the Grant and the Kelly. And that's a combined, I don't know, 400 units or so. Anyone know the number?
It's smaller, yeah, it's 170.
But plus, combined it's 170, is that small?
Yeah.
Either way, 170 units, maybe 1.5 to 2 residents per unit. That's just not enough people to support a fine dining restaurant, even a coffee shop, right? So.
But that's assuming that it's not a destination for other people.
Correct.
I live 2 blocks away. If there was a beer garden there, I'd be there every night.
I'll look for you there.
None of these new apartment buildings in this whole area that have the retail
Yeah.
on the ground floor have occupants. They're all vacant.
Right.
It's
Well,
not- it's not residential.
well, I think you're referring to the Luxor, I assume.
You can't
and-
pick anyone. Anyone.
No, the new one going up has it, your Acme,
Oh, yeah,
they're
And I-
rented.
Which ones?
There was a bank, there.
You mean where it was,
where Lord Taylor was. Yep, the new
No,
building.
Not there.
Oh,
Not that Acme, come to think of it.
Oh, the Narberth.
It's on Harbor, yeah.
In,
Oh, that-
but on Presidential Boulevard,
Right.
all the new apartment buildings in Bala Cynwyd, those places are just vacant.
Right. It is not a simple answer, and I'm not a sociologist, but I think the answer is psychological. A building like the Luxor, which was built mixed use, and it's a beautiful building, does not have the residential density near it to support any kind of meaningful retail or dining. It's just too off the beaten path for people. And one might say it's only, it's within 5 minutes of 1,000 people, which is true.
Where is
Luxor,
the
I'm sorry.
residential?
It's go to the Pagoda building on Presidential Boulevard,
Yeah, I know that.
across the street.
Okay.
Yeah,
If you just split that equation around and say there's nothing to interest the people in those apartments to walk the 200 feet to out. I mean, you're looking at it, the way you're putting it forth is that they have to go to this empty street. Well, no one wants to go to that empty street. And right where those 2 apartments are, it's desolate.
right,
There's nothing there except a falling down building, a business building, a gymnasium that was totally underperformed. I mean,
Yeah.
And you have a perfect, an absolute fabulous, the Ardmore Music.
oh, of course,
Well, you've got it right there at the movie theater.
Yep.
There's your Ardmore.
It probably needs to be brought up to code.
It's so infuriating.
I agree. I agree.
I lived
Yes.
here 50 years. I
Was the gentleman talking about the first floor of the Grant?
Beg pardon?
Was the gentleman on the other
Yes.
side?
Yes.
That's leased.
Well, yes, I was getting to that.
Oh, good, thank you.
It has been leased by a daycare, so it will not be a restaurant. You
No,
cannot go
you're
there and have a
right.
beer, unfortunately.
Why not?
I recommend you to, I guess you could. I recommend you do, but it will be a daycare, which is not the ideal use, but it is a
Not a
use.
great,
People need.
But yes, that has been leased out, and do we have a timeline on that, by the way? Do we have a timeline on the daycare when they're gonna be moving in? Timeline?
It's a daycare, yes.
When are
No.
they, where?
Oh,
Where's the?
really can't answer that fairly soon. It'll probably be, you know, next 6 months as far.
I expected it, okay, great. Yes,
The thing is, whoever, is the daycare or the yard will have to put a lot of money into it, because that's just a big open cabinet space.
right. Yes, it is a big open space that does not, but the daycare does not require kitchen or ventilation or anything like that, so the outfit should be fairly cheap, and it's also a national chain. It's not a kinder care, but it's like a kinder care, so they have the resources to fit it out. So, touching back upon our new businesses in 2024, these are all the new ground floor tenants we got in 2024. I might be missing a couple, but there are some great tenants on here. Men's Warehouse was a nice get for us. There's a new record store on Bala Avenue. He's just in the process of getting started up. He's a very nice guy.
Yeah.
We got a new gym on 63rd Street, Mainland Surgical Center over at 2 Bala, clothing store at the Acme Shopping Center. So you see, like I mentioned, Mr. Wish and Hangry Joe's. That little strip over there has really developed quite nicely into a nice center for food and beverage. It's been really, really good. And we expect a lot from that in the near future.
What happened to the Delco Steaks?
Delco Steaks fell through. There is a new tenant that they've signed on. I'm not at liberty to tell you who it is, but it will be good. That'll be very good. Yes.
Good question. When I saw the B plasma, I mean, my first thought was,
Yeah.
this belongs on Skid Row somewhere. I don't know that I'm right about that.
They're usually here at university.
What I will tell you is, from an economic development perspective, I'm disappointed that that's who went in there. I try to make a point of it to be a goalie, right? To run defense between property owners and signing a tenant they shouldn't be. Unfortunately, they signed them under our noses and before we knew what they were in. Luckily, they run a good business. They're not, there aren't people, hanging outside.
Hanging outside or anything.
Right.
like
I think
that.
you have to,
Okay.
get checked up before you can even go in there and get, to give plasma. So it has not become a nuisance, which is appreciated, but it's not a good use of that space, unfortunately,
What about the space next to it that I see here that says under contract?
That's where Delco 6 was gonna go. That just signed the lease
Oh.
in the last month or two, but they'll announce shortly, or will announce, we'll see.
So it's a restaurant space?
Yes,
Oh, that'll be nice.
yes, and they have parking directly next to it, so that will be especially nice.
On City between 54th and Orchard. Like where
Yes.
the Wendy's is.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's the last space in that strip
Mhm.
before the parking lot of the Wendy's. So this is a quick map, as I mentioned, we do these maps of all the data we get in of the businesses and the vacancies of 2024. You can see all of our new spaces. That intersection of Old Lancaster and City has become a real hotbed. Not a lot of closed businesses, only 4, I believe, in all of last year, which is phenomenal. We love to see that. Trying to be mindful of time. And then quite a few carryover vacancies, obviously up on ballot, which shouldn't be surprising anybody. You can hope for the best. That's all I can say. We did a lot of landscaping last year, and I'll try and fly through these last few slides. We planted 32 new street trees along City Avenue, and we planted a total of 4,622 new plants and flowers along the City Avenue corridor. So that's been, thank you. That was a tremendous effort, and I'm so pleased how it turned out. Unfortunately, it all went in like October, so we don't actually know. No one's seen it yet in full bloom, but I hope that by spring it's going to look dynamite, just really, really dynamite. And here's a quick before and after of over by the Firestone and the auto parts store and the Enterprise. We put in plugs there in the ground with some mulch. We put up the banner as well, which really makes the space look a lot greener, a lot more inviting. This is over on the Philly side, but this is on Presidential Boulevard by the apartments. It had been surface grass and now it's essentially a rain garden. It is all local plants, entirely rain fed, and it's going to fill in really nicely as time goes on as well. I don't know if you guys have seen these, this has been
Yeah.
really cool. We did string lights and all these trees by the BMW parking garage, the pocket parks.
Yeah, really nice.
It's amazing what a difference lighting makes at night, I
It's
mean,
my favorite shortcut to get.
oh, that makes me so happy. This is also over by the Firestone on the Lower Marion side, those trees were torn down long before we got there, so we would never rip the tree out. But we put in some of the same local native plants, and then some slab over there by the bus station, the bus unloading zone. We did banners, last year we did almost 100 banners throughout the City Ave corridor, that includes the City Ave District banners, the Bala Ave banners, and the 63rd Street banners, so I hope that's positively impacted your experience throughout the district, driving down city, kind of feel like you're in a bit more of a place that means something, and that's what we're going for. And here they are up close, the Bala ones, the 63rd Street ones, the City Ave ones, they really look very, very, very good. These are all the streetscape assets that we added last year. These are all the plants, the trees, the trash cans. We did 11 new street trash cans last year, I forgot to mention, all throughout the district. So it was a big year trying to fulfill our goal from last January. And I think we did as best we could. We did a nice job, I think. One more thing I also want to mention quickly is the expansion of Indigo e-bikes in Montgomery County. These, of course, are throughout the city of Philadelphia. We've been working hard with Montgomery County and Lower Marion Township to try and get these on the north side of City Avenue as well. It's a bike share system. If you're unfamiliar, you get the app on your phone, you can take the bike and ride it as much as you want, and then park it into another station anywhere else. They're kind of docked electronically. Montgomery County was awarded, or by the Lower Marion Township was awarded a grant by the county to help fund these stations. So in the next, I'd say 18 months, we can look forward to some new bike share in Lower Marion, down by St. Joe's, of course, hopefully one by Kingwood or Bala Station, Bala Plaza, and then connecting it down to Pencoed Landing. So and what that does not only is encourages bike riding in the township, but it also better connects us to Manayunk, to Roxborough, to Fairmount Park, City of Philadelphia. It really ensures that this area is a heavily involved area. Some quick construction updates before I open it up to the Q&A. I want to be mindful of time here. The former NBC 10 building on the corner of Monument was purchased by SIG, Susquehanna International Group, to be used as their staff fitness center and IT center. So it is not a public space, but it is once again active. And they're almost done with it. They finished the inside. They're going to start working on landscaping in the spring. That's what it looks like now. They're also putting in a pedestrian bridge over Monument that connects the two sides of the street, so you can get from one SIG building to the other SIG building easily. Someone mentioned the Lord Taylor site. That is what we're looking at here, the Bala Cynwyd Shopping Center. It's set to be completed early next year. I don't know if you guys have driven by it recently, but they are doing like a floor a day. Like it's really very incredible how quickly they're working on that. They're ahead of schedule and under budget, which never happens. But it's going to be 16,000 square feet of retail space that's already entirely leased out with, I don't know the names of tenants off the top of my head, but they are quality tenants, and 217 residential units. That's the graphic of what it will look like. And jumping back real quick, this is just phase one of their 3-stage master plan. Down here's where the Chili's is. The plan is to tear that down and put another building, a similar building here on the corner, and then a third building back here on the rear parking lot.
These are more apartment buildings.
Yes, more of the
Okay.
same mixed-use apartment buildings. So
Okay.
what you'll be getting basically are small, almost urban-feeling streets that kind of wind through this new city, basically.
Do they have a name for
Um,
it? Whole areas, it just called that about.
it does not have a name, but the address is 145 East City Ave. That's all they're calling it right now.
Who's the developer?
It is federal properties. The same ones who own the Cynwyd Shopping Center. So that's what it's gonna look like when it's completed, and that's what it looked like, 3 weeks ago, and it looks vastly different already.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a major project, and our office is right there, so we get to watch it go up every day. Another angle of it. 111 Presidential, this is gonna be a monster project back there on Presidential Boulevard. There was that, I think, 2-3 story office building back there, kind of where it bends around and turns into St. Asaph's. It's gonna be a 4/1 mixed-use multifamily development that is actually gonna have 412 apartment units in it, retail down below. Hopefully we don't have the same problem we have with the Luxor. And then plenty of public space, wide sidewalks, there's gonna be a plaza in the middle, connection to the Kingwood Trail from behind is the hope. So that'll be an all-encompassing project as well. And then just a quick update on St. Joe's, they are in the process of liquidating all of their properties in University City and bring all those students up to the City Ave Hawk Hill campus. So to meet the needs of those students, they're building a brand new, really lovely dorm building. So those students will be patronizing the restaurants, the shops, those 4, 5, 6 new restaurants that opened up on that strip across the street. So we're looking forward to that as well and truly being, at least in that part, a university area. This is a big one. Over the next 2 years, I would try to avoid this part of City Avenue if I were you. PennDOT is gonna be coming in and totally redoing the bridge that goes over the Kingwood line. It'll go down to 1 lane in each direction for periods at a time while they work on that project. They were supposed to be done already, but they keep pushing it back. The issue is that it's basically, as they describe it, a bunch of utilities with a road over it. So they have to be very
This
careful.
is the Kingwood Station?
This is
that
the
Bala
Bala Station.
Bala Station.
Yeah, so this is City Avenue here.
Hope it goes faster than the library.
Oh, me too. And the Union Avenue, Union Avenue one took forever.
Yeah, but it came out beautiful.
It did, and I hope they do the same thing over here. I'm told this bridge was built in 1910, so it's actually a historic bridge.
Yes, same here. Doing the same thing.
And that is more or less my presentation. I finished with some nice drone footage shots of City Avenue that make us look very pretty, I think. But I do want to open up the floor to a Q&A session. I don't want to keep anybody here longer than they signed on to be. But before I open up for the Q&A, I want to maybe get ahead of some of those questions with some FAQs. These are the questions that I get asked on a daily basis, so I'll try and tackle these. And if I leave anything out, do feel free to interject or to ask other questions when we open it up. But the biggest thing I probably get when I do public events is what is the impact of all these apartments? I think people are very, very concerned about, when they see 217 apartments here and 400 some apartments there, and what does that mean for the profile of Lower Merion Township, right? And it's not a wildly simple answer, but I will make it as simple as I can, and that is that Lower Merion has, for a very long time, actually, in fact, been a multifamily township. If you drive down Montgomery Avenue, you'll see a lot of duplexes, a lot of townhomes, a lot of apartment buildings that were built 40, 50, 60 years ago. In fact, 1 in 4 residents of Lower Merion live in a multifamily dwelling, right? So, I think there's the ideation that, the area is being converted from single-family homes exclusively to apartments is, not entirely the truth, right? We've always had these apartments in the community. People also ask about the impact on local schools. Number 4, that if we're building all these apartments and we're getting all these new people, does that mean a greater burden being placed on Lower Merion Public Schools? And the short answer is not as much as you think, if at all. Reason being, the people renting these apartments are empty nesters that have sold their single-family homes in Ardmore or Gladwin or wherever. They still want to live somewhere close to the area, but accessible to the city, which of course is not impacting the school district negatively. It is what we call DINKs, dual income, no kids. So young professionals who are married, this is their first place as a married couple, they're living in a 2-bedroom at the Kelly or at the Delwyn or whatever. And when they have kids, they're probably going to move out to Ardmore or what have you and buy a house. So none of these things are really increasing the demand on schools. What ended up happening, I think this was 2, 3, 4 years ago, is that it came out that one of the schools needed to be replaced or needed a new elementary school, I think it was, due to the influx of kids. And what that was actually was not apartments. What that was the slow trickle effect of people that had sent their children to private schools were leaving the area and being replaced by people sending their kids to public schools. It's just a demographic issue. We have, both the township and the public schools have acknowledged that the increase in new apartments has not substantially impacted either traffic or the burden on the school district. The next question I always get is about trash. Is you can talk this talk, you can plant 4,000 plants, and that's all well and good. What about the garbage? What about the garbage? We know. It is an uphill battle every day. Especially people from the city of Philadelphia and the surrounding communities, never Lower Merion. There is a litter problem, you know? I have seen with my own eyes 10, 15, 20 times a day, people open up their car doors at a red light, dropping a bag from McDonald's down the street, close the door and driving away. So it doesn't matter how many guys we hire, how hard we work, it is always gonna replenish every hour. So all we can do is acknowledge it's an uphill battle and work as hard as we can to be diligent and collect the trash. It's just 2 guys right now. We're hoping to grow that team, budget permitting, so we can do more. But that's what I have to say about that. And then what is the future of Bala Avenue? We've kind of touched upon this already quite a few times, but that also, as I've said, is gonna be an uphill battle. I personally love Bala Avenue. I love Bala Cynwyd. I think it's a terrific area. It's a great community. Both to raise a family, I think it's a great place to shop and dine. We have every intention of making sure that it is that. Bala Avenue should be the heartbeat of the community, and we believe in that wholeheartedly. That's why we invest in Bala Avenue Art Walk. So I invest in the movie night. That's why we want to do these art-based programs and help bring in new businesses. We firmly believe that when this new building is done, it's gonna have a huge impact. It's really gonna bring in those Class A retailers and restaurants that we need for the area. And I think with those, the rest of the spaces will populate. I think once that happens, the rest will in fact trickle down. Now, the elephant in the room, of course, is the Bala Theater. And I don't wanna gloss over it. It's, of course, a challenge. When I was here a year ago, I think we had the same conversation. You know, the short answer is we as an improvement district are at the mercy of property owners. We can try to build relationships. That's kind of the best we can do in several cases, build relationships and try and persuade people to do the right thing. And I'm being as diplomatic as I can, by the way. But it's tricky. The owner of that particular building does not want to sell. He seems like he does sometimes, then changes his mind. In the last year, I think he probably had somewhere between 5 and 10 different offers of different concepts, whether it be residential, whether it be making it a theater again, whether it be as a fitness center, I think I heard at one point. And every time someone comes in with an offer, he increases the price, asks for a cash deposit, sight unseen, non-refundable, and will not let anyone tour the space until they do so. So, you know, at the end of the day, I mean, you know, at the end of the day.
Is that owner?
Sorry?
How old is that
Yes.
owner?
How old is he, George? Is he 50s, 60s?
Oh,
Oh, he's in the city.
Well, it's also, you know, they have a family. They have, one of the members of the family lives in Greece. So the communication isn't exactly, you can pick up the phone and talk with them. So they, you know,
Yes, please.
and his brother is older, so there's 2 sons and the mother. Mother's quite elderly, and the 2 sons are, you know, pretty well grown up. So that's and they each have a slightly different opinion of what should be done with the site, by the way.
Is this the family that ran the movie theater?
Yeah.
It's the same.
Yeah, they bought it in the early 90s, I want to say, mid 80s, something like that.
Before that, yeah, they bought the building quite.
When
No, but
When my
but
kids
that's
were
the
growing
same
up,
owner.
that was a place where it was almost like living near the Bryn Mawr Film Institute.
That was really.
You know, they
People would
ran.
we would walk to the theater.
Yeah, it was
I know.
great. I mean, it would be like the cherry on top for Bala
would.
Avenue.
I mean, that's the other piece that has to fall. It's the new building and it's the theater. Those are the 2, you know,
Yeah,
the gaps in the smile, as it were, right?
The movie theater was the anchor that we're talking about.
Yeah. Of course.
The movie
And do you have a
theater and the
question?
hardware store.
You know, like, just give him what he
Oh,
wants.
and Henry Hardware.
This township cannot give him what he wants, just give him what he wants. The top dog.
Alex, may I spin off that?
Sure.
One of the things that throughout your presentation I've been wondering about is what kind of cooperation do you receive either from the city or from Lower Merion in terms of being able to leverage
Right.
what is good for Bala Cynwyd?
Right.
Does eminent domain ever come into this? Does,
Thank you.
as you're suggesting, give him what he wants, send him back to Greece, I'll buy a plane ticket.
You know, I think there- it's really
What
here.
needs to be done, because this, I've been here for 40 years. And my property value is not what it should be
Exactly.
since that movie theater closed.
Sure.
And I'm not willing to sell my property at a loss because of this guy.
Understood. I agree.
It's a
So
huge
what kind of
distress for the whole
leverage do we
community.
have?
Doesn't he have to pay taxes on the building, even if it's not bringing in any money?
Yes, he does.
Do we raise the
Raise the
taxes?
Has he articulated what he wants?
I saw it, right?
I will answer the question the best I can. He has not articulated it in words, but I've had enough engagements with him where I think I know what he wants, and it's not money. That's kind of the problem. I think the township can offer him the number, but it's not an issue of money. Wouldn't you agree? I think it's a matter of he has an asset that he knows everyone in this room wants. And he lives across the street, he gets to look at it every day. And so, I'm not sure what has to change to make that change, but he's gonna keep dangling the carrot and then pulling it back. It seems like for fun, in my mind.
Yes, but there are certain things that I try to look at legalistically. For instance, why the township allows new little businesses, like last summer, or maybe it was earlier in the summer, there was a little smoothie shop and a little yoga shop. Two young entrepreneurs invested their money in those two shops, and they were closed within 6 months. What right does the township have to let those young people make those kinds of investments and not tell them your business is going to flop in 6 weeks? There is more leverage. There's some,
Yeah.
we're being held hostage by this man. There must be other small legal, I think what this lady said is really make it hurt. I don't care whether he feels happy to be holding us this way, but it's just so frustrating. I used to go to that movie, it was 10 cents and a penny tax. I walked from my home in Philadelphia to that movie theater. It was magnificent. I went there as a kid and I thought, oh my God, I'm in heaven. I sat in the balcony.
It's one of the reasons why we moved here.
It's a beautiful building. It's historic. There must be something a historic society can do about it. I just don't think that there are enough people that care enough about it. And I think that the reason I don't mean the residents, I mean people that have a little bit more leverage is great word. But I figured out the township found a way to make room for that BMW and get us a parking lot there where we had no parking on Bala Avenue. They must be able to think of something they can do that. It's just too frustrating. I'm gonna go out in the banana peel and that theater's still not gonna be running. Grandchildren, I have to take it to the movies or to the music hall or to a gymnasium. It's just not right. I'm sorry, this is why I don't go to the township meetings, because
I'm just wondering if a letter writing campaign could help, because as long as we're not offending this gentleman, but I mean, I would be willing to have a date set and we all come back and your story is so appealing. I mean, maybe we can appeal to his heartstrings in some manner.
He'll just play out.
I don't think we have them. I think we need to make it hurt. Somebody needs to make it hurt.
Or a Bronx statue. Like Rocky.
Right.
Oh, he would love that. That might
We
do
know
it.
he would.
That might go.
How about tar and feather?
I'm sorry.
Signs of violation. Community of balance for itself. So all these items there.
Yeah,
Like they opened a new Chicago in one of the corners.
he has, and he should be addressed correctly.
Community can benefit. It's fucking sophisticated, our home values are what they should be. I have friends that go to a certain place, I think to the old or whatever. And the other day she drove down Bala Avenue, she called me and she said, Andrea, what happened to Bala Avenue? I said, oh, don't ask. Don't get me started. I mean, I am very passionate about this, I realize, and I try to be a little calmer, but I just feel that there's some key that we are missing.
No, you have no need to apologize. I love the passion. I really do. I think that's what we need. It's the only way something's gonna get done about that theater is that amount of passion. And I would assume the township has their reasons for not eminent domating it or, whatever other route they want to take. And I wish I had an answer. I wish I did for you guys. I really did.
Then they have sign, you know how you see the signs like kids their school should start later or the farm belongs in, yes, yard side. Bring back the Bala Theater or something like that.
Or get rid of the green.
But now,
Farm
so
belongs
so
there.
to my bigger question is, how does the City Avenue District interact with the council people in the city or the township commissioners here? What is your relationship on a day-to-day ongoing basis?
No, it's a very good question. I think I mentioned this earlier. We fancy ourselves a convening organization, which is bringing different parties to the table. I will readily admit to you, our relationship with the city is as strong as it can be, which is still quite weak, being the city of Philadelphia. And look, I love the city. They're very, very difficult to work with. I was just down there at City Hall yesterday for a grant that they created for small businesses. But they're very, very difficult to work with, despite best efforts. And I'll give you an example.
Yes, please.
There's a property I'm sure you all know. It's the old mattress store at 5052 City Avenue by the Rite Aid. It's been boarded up for goodness knows how long. A restaurateur purchased the property. He owns a restaurant up in Northeast Philly. He was gonna turn it into a diner. Burgers and whatever. And he applied for a liquor license because right now to own a restaurant is very difficult unless you can make money off of beer and wine. So he was gonna serve beer and wine as on the menu at the restaurant. And a couple of residents, certainly not the majority, but a couple of residents kicked up a fuss with the state liquor board, kicked it to certain city council people. And I'm not sure who owed who what favors, and they had they put in the appeal to the state liquor board. After about 6 months of going back and forth, we thought we had a deal and then we didn't, and then, things change, and then the owner just decided it wasn't worth it and he pulled out. So because of certain people in the city of Philadelphia playing politics, we lost out on what could have been a really good business in a space that's otherwise vacant.
Wynwood Neighborhood Association that was involved in that, is that their line? Goes up to City Avenue.
We did work with WRA, with the Residents Association. They were phenomenal. Their president, Crystal Morris, is a delight, an absolute delight. She was very, very helpful. It was certain people from the ward who knew certain people in City Hall that just made it very, very difficult for this owner to try and get a liquor license. So, on the city side, we're dealing with things like that. Our Marion Township is much better. So thank you all. It helps that the planning department here is 3 people. We know Commissioner Rossman very well. We know Commissioner Gilder Kramer very well. Chris Lesswing, we know very well. And these are all useful people.
Library will be closing in 30 minutes.
No, I needed that. Thank you. So these contacts are very useful. We're, what is it, 30 East Lancaster Avenue all the time. In fact, they come to our board meetings. We get city people, we get township people come to our board meetings as ex officios. Lou Rossman is on our board as an ex officio, as is Gilda Kramer, which is useful to get certain things done. It has not yielded me fruit in the department of the theater yet. but we're gonna keep leveraging those relationships. If I had $6 million, I'd buy it right now,
You probably-
and I'm sure he'd ask for 10, right?
Yeah, right. I'll be throwing the broad statute, appropriate, and it'll be a done deal. Right out front of the BMW store.
It's a very good
Right at the top of the hill there. Yeah, okay. It'll see go every time.
Another elephant in the room to some people is the proposed roundabout. And Belmont and St. Apex, does the
Yes.
City Ave District have a position or?
I was expecting this question. We do not. It is a state project. If you have questions on that, I recommend Commissioner Rossman. We are staying out of that entirely. We will do, we don't do road projects, right? I mean, I'm sure once if they wind up doing it, if they finish it, we'll cut the grass in the middle of it.
So you haven't been a voice one way or the other on this, or the neighborhood residents?
We have not.
It affects the streetscape.
It does, it does. What I will say, and I wish I had the map up here to show you, is that intersection is the highest concentration of traffic accidents in the township, or in the district, I should say. I don't have data on the township, but on the district, it is the highest point of accidents. I am not here to say if a traffic circle is the solution or if it is not. All I'm saying is something should be done to make the intersection safer. I think we've lobbied to that effect, but we're not taking a stance one way or the other on the traffic circle. Any other questions?
It's
Yes,
probably not, doesn't have anything to do with what you can help with. With all the apartments going up, is the Kinwood line, the train line, an attraction to? You would think that the train would be able to run more often because the residents would take, I'm just curious. If you know about that.
it should be. By every single account, it should be the biggest route of Alec Hersh. Because it runs 5 times a day, it is not.
Yeah.
Until SEPTA chooses to invest in increasing service to the Kinwood line, it will not be. I commute up here every day from the city and I can't ride it because the times don't work, right?
Or if you go downtown in the morning, you have to wait hours to get.
Right, exactly. And if you miss it, you gotta wait 3 hours.
Is it at risk?
It is always a risk.
Yeah.
I and we will always fight for it. When they cut it for when 95 collapsed 2 summers ago. And they cut service, we lobbied very hard to reinstate it, and obviously they did. But whenever SEPTA has a shortcoming, as they will in June, when the latest batch of grant funding from the state runs out. That will be probably one of the first things to go, and we will work our, rear ends off to try and save it again.
If I can shed some light on that, as a
Sure.
former SEPTA manager. That line is shared with Amtrak. And Amtrak charges bazooka bucks to utilize their line.
Are you sure that line is, or the
Yes, no,
Thorndale line?
A portion of that line is.
Yeah, okay.
So the ridership is just never going to be big enough to support
Right.
being able to fund additional service on that line. I've been going back to Mayor Nutter and before when he was councilman, we fought for that line. And that has always been a bugaboo.
We met with SEPTA, again, when the highway came down in 2023, and they told us that the amount it costs per rider on average to run the Kinwood line, they could buy each rider a new Cadillac Escalade every year.
Yeah, it's
That is their cost to operate that line.
it's buco bucks. Buco bucks.
Yeah. So it is.
So when you hear a real estate developer saying, oh, I'm going to build 20 million apartment buildings, we'll have this fantastic public transit service. You know that they're blowing smoke.
More or less, yeah. Any additional questions?
What happened to sorry.
You're a great speaker. I just feel like we could hear your passion and what you're doing, and it's fantastic.
Thank you.
So I had 2 things. One is, is your organization soliciting to St. Joe's students to maybe assist the community, I'm not saying it right, the bike riders
Mhm.
with trash pickup? Because I feel like college students want to do community service, but they don't always get invited, and maybe an invitation to say, meet our community, bike riders, whatever their title is. And maybe assist, and they can buy into the neighborhood that they're now a part of and beautify along with them.
I think it's a great idea. I like it.
And they would learn and hear, if they were in this room, they would hear your passion. And I feel like they would get excited about now beautifying their surroundings of their campus.
Do they have an urban planning?
They don't.
You know what, they have,
Nature
Lori, because they have a relationship, with the barns, there are.
Yes, they do.
St. Joe's is part of the barns, it's close, but they are St. Joe's. They do have horticultural, the students that
Yeah.
learn landscaping and
Sure.
that kind of stuff.
What I will say is I think despite,
Very knowledgeable about that.
I think despite St. Joe's having been there for well over 100 years, they have never looked at City Avenue as their home, right? I think it has been a very inward facing campus. City Avenue has never been giving off the impression that it's a college town or a college area. And so I think that's why there's always been a lack of involvement. I think people on St. Joe's don't even know the assets that City Avenue has because they don't go around all that much. And I think the students from the University campus coming up here will help a lot with that. And the new businesses that are going in across the street will help with that, but I really do like the idea of launching a program. Yeah.
It's a great thing.
I was just gonna ask about the landmark restaurant space.
Yeah, no, it's a good question. They did a,
What's your question?
the former landmark Americana on 54th Street.
Right next to Larry.
Yes, right next to Larry Steaks.
The St. Joe's.
Across from Hagen Arena, by St. Joe's. So I think where to begin. So St. Joe's owns the building, of course. And so when they asked Landmark to leave, they put it out to bid. Yeah, the restaurant was not being managed to the standards of the university. So they asked them to leave when the lease was up, and they put it out to an RFP to gather new restaurant concepts. They picked one. And then somewhere during the negotiation process of signing the lease, decided to back out. This is fairly recent. This is only in the last, 2 months. So they are back out looking for a new concept. But it's a phenomenal space, and anything there I think would do fairly well. There's parking, there's basketball,
I don't think I realized St. Joe's owned that building.
What about the guy with the diner?
Yeah, is he still opening the diner?
He is not, it didn't make sense for him.
Location.
Right? That's what I said.
He wants to own, he doesn't want a lease, he wants to own. And it breaks my heart, he's such a nice guy, he's from Turkey, his wife manages his restaurant up in Northeast, she'd manage this one too. His kids would be there working, it'd be a great, family business.
What's it called, the one?
The one, it's, oh goodness, Roosevelt Diner, I think, Roosevelt Diner.
On the boulevard.
Yep, on the boulevard at one. Yeah, it was gonna be called Copper Hill Bar and Restaurant. And the mistake he made was calling it a bar and restaurant because, people heard the word bar and their ears perked up and, they said no, and no matter how many times we explained to them, it's not gonna be a bar, we're just gonna serve beer and wine. Didn't matter. And that's
So how did we get a beer in this town?
Go to the Valley Inn, I guess.
I have a connection for you, now.
Okay,
I know the man who opens all the pop-up beer gardens in
Okay.
Philadelphia.
okay,
He's from this area and he does that all the time.
okay, I appreciate that, that'd be great.
Contact.
So if there aren't any more questions, I guess I'll conclude, but I want to thank you all so much for coming tonight. Big things are always on their way. We'll make sure of it.
Applaud your efforts. Thank
Get
you.
home safe, please.